Do you like talking about women? What do you think about talking about women in the Bible and women in Christianity, especially Catholic saints? I was born in Brazil, in the country that is said to be the most Catholic in the world, at least in terms of population, so I can say that I have a deeper understanding of the Catholic view that this church has of women than if I were a Protestant or an atheist or even a non-Christian. And reading the Bible and comparing these women from the Old Testament and the historical Catholic saints, I realize, and I think you will also realize, that there is a big difference in several aspects between these women. Let's take an example from each side. A widow. Let's go. A widow, Judith and Saint Rita. Both were impetuous and vehement, and widows, but their destinies took opposite paths. Of course, when it comes to abuse and suffering, Saint Rita wins. Saint Rita suffered violence from her own husband, was not respected by her husband, nor by her children, was not respected by the society around her, and was not respected even in the convent, where she died. Saint Rita is the type of woman who, as many women can say, had a totally unhappy life. There is no victory in this woman's entire life. It is as if her life was surrounded by a dense darkness of defeat, humiliation, sadness, and suffering, things that the Catholic Church, like a member of the Addams family, seems to love. Judith is the complete opposite of Saint Rita. Judith is a widow, but it is never said that she suffered violence from her husband. However, something happened in her life that, in a way, was a potential threat of great violence, so typical of the female gender that normally happens in wars. Her city had been besieged, her country was threatened with invasion, of an imminent war. Judith prepared herself. She prayed, but she did not pray for God to send an angel or to protect her, or things that people normally pray for in a selfish and petty way. She prayed and strengthened her spirit to face the problem head-on. Judith took an attitude that no general or political or military authority in her city would take. She beautified herself, an attitude that was completely repudiated by the Catholic Church, and went to meet the army that threatened her city and country. And upon arriving there, at the enemy army's camp, she, as a spy and assassin, infiltrates the army and seduces the most powerful man in that enemy army. That is, she attacks the head of the serpent. She seduces the general and kills him in bed, then cuts off his head and sneaks out of the enemy camp. This act leaves the enemy army completely disconcerted, and the Jews seize the moment and attack the enemy army and defeat it. Judith gives the Jews an opportunity to react to the threat of slavery and death, and they do not forgive. They attack and achieve victory. Judith is acclaimed and loved by everyone in Israel. She is a heroine. Many men want to marry her, but she remains unmarried. She lives a long time, and throughout her life she is respected, and she still is, more than 2,500 years later. It's just an example, but if you compare other women like Judge Deborah and Saint Joan of Arc, or Queen Esther and any other saint queen, you will notice that the women in the Bible are victorious, beautiful, impetuous, wise, and strong, while the saints are fragile, disrespected, they are betrayed, they do not achieve victory in anything in their respective lives and goals. Take the case of Joan of Arc. She fought, was betrayed, and was tortured and murdered for nothing. She fought for a man who did nothing to save her. She was burned alive by the same institution that today sanctified her. She fought for a France that does not exist. Although France was recognized as the first daughter of the Catholic Church, today France is no longer Catholic. France is the greatest disseminator of anti-Christian ideas within Europe. Joan of Arc's sacrifice was completely in vain. The same cannot be said of Judge Deborah or Queen Esther. The Jews are alive to this day. Their faith is alive to this day. They were not betrayed or crushed by the very system they defended. There is a huge difference in the results of the work of these women, something that should be rethought and reflected upon by Christians, all Christians.